Huh. Wow, 268 hours. I have, how long did I buy Pokemon Moon? Like, I'm pretty sure it's been less than 3 months, and I've already put in nearly 300 hours. I got the complete Pokedex of 301 Pokemon. But you know, I hadn't played a Pokemon game since Pokemon Crystal. If I were to ascertain why, I'd have to say it's possible that Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire had the worst possible timing to come out for me. Because you see, when they announced the release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, it just so happened to be within a couple of days of me finally completing the Pokedex of what was then 251 Pokemon. Well, I didn't get a Mew back then, but I did get a Celebi. So here I am. I had just dedicated months to getting all the Pokemon, because back then if you had to do trades, you had to find a person with a link cable, and you know, it was actually a chore to get all the Pokemon back then. There were no hacks or anything you could do. And I went all the way to New Jersey to go to a Six Flags where they were having a Pokemon event to get my Celebi. And just as I finished collecting all that, that's when they decided to announce that they'd come out with another 100. And I remember one of the last episodes of the anime I saw was the one that featured Kecleon for the first time. And Kecleon did not make a very good first impression for its generation. That's kind of a really doofy looking Pokemon, and the way it was depicted in the anime was kind of dumb. So that was a time when like, I didn't like the character designs. I hated the fact that I had just gone through all the effort to complete the decks, and then they just decided to make more. So yeah, I didn't get Pokemon, and I didn't get any new Pokemon games like Generation 3, 4, 5, 6, skipped all those. Pokemon Moon, I finally get into Generation 7 because at Toys R Us it was 70% off, so I made like 12 bucks, so I said, why not? And, well, wouldn't you know, I guess I still enjoy Pokemon. So, what do you do when you find out you still like something after a long time? How about a top 10 list? Yes, let's do a top 10 list. Now, Pokemon's been around for a while, so pretty much all the top 10s are probably taken. I got it. I'll do a top 10 of the Pokemon that I had to import. Yes. The rules of this is, I'm not talking about, like, version exclusives, like how I had Moon, so I had to have someone send me a Vulpix to trade. I traded one of my Sandshoes for it. No. I'm talking about Pokemon from the older generations that you can't acquire in Sun or Moon, and even if you do get them through trade, they don't update the Pokedex. Yes, I did a count last night in all the boxes that I have, and it turns out these particular foreign Pokemon, I have about 37 of them. Now, this doesn't count like their evolutionary stages, like I have a Lopunny, but you know, when I got it, it was a Baniri and I leveled it up, but I still only counted it as one. You know, like that's the rules I'm doing. So yes, I'm going to go through the list of all the Pokemon that I got in this way, and I'm going to pick out my 10 favorites. Yep. So let's do a list.
Okay then, super happy fun listing time. My top 10 favorite Pokemon that I've imported into Pokemon Moon, which I guess would also sort of be my top 10 favorite Pokemon from Generations 1 through 6, if you think about it this way. Okay, now, there are so many hundreds of Pokemon at this point that I knew that there was no way I was going to fall into the rabbit hole trying to collect every single one of them. I'd go completely nuts. Part of me just wanted to collect some old party members that I was still nostalgic for from the older generations back when I played back in high school, and I decided not to even bother trying to get the legendaries because, you know, they'd probably just be hacked versions anyway, and they'd probably ask for some really hard stuff to trade, so, you know, don't even bother with that. And I also want to throw out some honorable mentions, like, these are Pokemon that I got this way, but, you know, I didn't ask for them. They just sort of came to me through Wonder Trade, which included a Mew. I was really surprised when I got a Mew through Wonder Trade. I was happy for that. A nice little Mawile, and a shiny Beedrill. Of course, it didn't arrive as a Beedrill. It arrived as a level 1 Weedle, but it was shiny. I was so excited. So as soon as I got that Weedle, I I put it on the lead of my party, and I took it all around the islands, battling and leveling them up. That's what I do when I get a new Pokemon. I take them out and I level them up the proper way. Yep, no turning on the XP share and heading to Pony Island to level the thing up in a second like a loser would. I take it the proper way so I can form a bond with it. Which actually helps because when the Pokemon become bonded to you, you get little perks when you fight. So yeah, I leveled that thing up to a level 50 Beedrill, and its stats are amazing because it's shiny, and I was so happy to get a shiny one. Okay, but those are the honorable mentions, so let's do the proper top 10 list starting now. Number 10 is Mindshow. Yes, Mindshow, a fighting type Pokemon, Shaolin Weasel thing. Yeah, I kind of just saw this little Shaolin Weasel thing with this little wizard robe fur, and like, oh, that thing looks kind of cute and fun. And usually Weasel or Ferret type Pokemon are kind of boring. They look like Sentret or Gumshoes, so I'm like, hell yeah, give me an interesting looking Weasel. Of course, this guy's on the bottom of the list because even though he's really interesting looking and he's really powerful too. I was surprised how strong this Pokemon was when I actually fought with it. I kind of like Mindfu better, the Pokemon it evolves from. I mean, look at it. It's the Kung Fu Weasel instead of the Shaolin Weasel. I mean, I like this design better. I like the designs of the sleeves. You know, it's a little bit less pretentious. I like this look. What can I say? Okay. Number 9 is Kabutops. Yes, all the way back to one of the extinct Pokemon from Generation 1. Now, with my little Mindfu comment before, you probably noticed that I kind of have a pet peeve about Pokemon that look too much like ordinary animals. Like, I find them to be less imaginative. Even Generation 1 was prone to this. The other extinct Pokemon is actually a perfect example. Ammonite. I mean, look at that. That's just a cartoon version of an Ammonite. And come on, like, Ammonite, they didn't even get creative with the name. Now, how boring is that? I mean, credit where it's due, they didn't just use dinosaurs for the first extinct Pokemon they presented. They went with something a little more, you know, Cambrian era, but still, like, they could have given it a little bit more of an interesting look than just a chibi version of an actual creature. But, holy crap, like, this is what a Trilobite looks like. And these things are not particularly big. I think the biggest Trilobites were only about the size of hermit crabs. So, somebody looked at this and decided to turn it into a fantasy monster, it would look like this. Like, that's awesome. It's still recognizable as a giant Trilobite, like the shape of the head, the shape of the shell, it's all still there, but this is awesome looking. And, yeah, like, even now, even though it's the OG, I still think it's one of the coolest extinct Pokemon that they ever made. So, yeah, Kabutops definitely still manages to grace the top 10. Number 8 is Noivern. It's basically a giant pterodactyl bat, and it's a dragon type. That's, I kind of really don't need to justify that. It's, like, just that description alone should let you know how awesome it is. A bat the size of a freaking pterodactyl. Okay, now, about my Noivern, on the other hand, when I received it as a Noibat, it was one of the only ones that wasn't level 1. It arrived to me at level 14. Still far away from its actual evolution level, but it had a Japanese name. I didn't think much of it at first because a lot of my Pokemon come to me with Japanese names when I trade, and then when they evolve, the language switches back to English because all it was doing was displaying its regular name in Japanese. But when this one evolved, its name didn't change. So that means that it must be some nickname. So here's the nickname. I can't read this, but if anybody can you, like, in the comments below, like, tell us how you would say this in, like, you know, pronounce it with English letters? Because I'm genuinely curious what I should call my Noivern. Number 7 is Leaveney. Or, yeah, Leaveney. I'm guessing, like, Leaf and Vanny, I don't know. Well, it's another kind of praying mantis looking thing. I mean, yeah, you guys all know I kind of have a thing for bugs, and praying mantises in particular. Don't worry, Lurantis, you're still my favorite from this generation. But, Leaveney, like, when it arrived, it was like this little thing, like, I think they call it Sewaddle. It was, it's like part caterpillar, part pea pod, and part adorable little baby in a swaddling cloth. It's so cute. And then it evolves into this thing, which is, you know, it's also still cute. It has that little dress and a big old bonnet. Like, you know, it's just, and this actually is a grass bug type. It's not just a grass type that looks like a bug. So, yeah, Leaveney kind of does the one thing that I wanted Lurantis to be. So, yeah, Leaveney, kind of the Lurantis of that generation, wasn't it? Number 6 is Tyrantrum. I know I just finished praising Kabutops for being like an extinct animal that wasn't a dinosaur, and how much I admired them for not going straight to dinosaurs, but you know, you just can't beat a Tyrannosaurus, you know, like, and look at him. He actually has like a feather frill around his neck and his head. So he's a Tyrannosaurus with signs of feathers. That kind of makes this the most scientifically accurate depiction of a Tyrannosaurus in a fictional media. They should receive praise just for that. So, yeah, I don't really think I need to elaborate too much. It's a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex Pokemon. Of course it was going to make my list. Number 5 is Gliscor. Okay, so let's fill in a little bit of backstory here. Gligar. Look at him. He's kind of cool looking, right? He sort of looks like if you cross a scorpion with a bat and just a hint of flying squirrel in there. Like, that's kind of cool looking, kind of intimidating, right? And I even remember an episode of the anime that featured Gligar Man, a superhero fashioned after a Gligar. Only thing is that Gligar is not really that great a Pokemon. Its stats kind of sucked and it didn't learn any really powerful moves. So, you know, like, it's just one of those catch to complete the Pokedex things. And then I found out that they gave it an evolution, and that evolution looked like this. Holy crap! This is the stuff of nightmares. Even when this thing likes you and you're playing with it in Pokemon Refresh and petting it, it still looks freaking terrifying. This thing is awesome. If I saw it in real life, I would run in terror. Even if it was only the size of my finger, it would still freak me the hell out. I mean, like, hey, let's just make a scorpion that's also a bat. Except make it scary this time. So yeah, Gliscor. Like, it gets in here based solely on the look of its awesomeness. Oh yeah, and it actually is a pretty decently powerful Pokemon too. Number 4 is Lopunny. Yep, Lopunny. Basically the Playboy Bunny Pokemon. Like, yeah, there was no way that this was gonna pass by my radar. Yeah, like, you know, every generation always points the finger at some character that turned a bunch of kids into furries. When I was a kid, it was Princess Sally from the Sad AM cartoon, and I'm pretty sure Lopunny gets to blame for this generation. Especially with her Mega Evolution, which literally just looks like a Playboy bunny wearing torn up tights. Like, come on. But yeah, like, I gotta find myself a Lopunny. I heard that they're gonna make it available in Pokemon Moon later on. Hopefully that's sooner rather than later. But you know what? Lopunny is a really cool looking Pokemon, and it's surprisingly strong when you fight with it. Like, this thing can one-shot crap with a return attack. That is, if you leveled it up properly instead of just, you know, speed running. But yeah, Lopunny. She's my number 4. Number 3 is Heracross, and my personal favorite Pokemon from Generation 2. Although I should be using this picture because the Heracross that I got was female. Also happy to see that one of my favorite Pokemon actually got a design update to make it sexually dimorphic. That's pretty cool. I mean, they did that for Pikachu with the tail thing. I'm happy they did for Heracross too. And I'm really surprised that they didn't have a Stag or Hercules Beetle type Pokemon for the first game, because, you know, the whole idea behind Pokemon comes from those competitions where people watch Stag Beetles fight each other. I mean, this is basically the inspiration of Pokemon, and it took until the second generation for the actual creature that inspired the trend to get a Pokemon representative. Don't you think that's kind of weird? Number 2 is a tie between Gardevoir and Gallade. Yeah, that's right, it's a tie. I couldn't decide. Yeah, I mean, I am absolutely shocked that Gardevoir and Gallade weren't actually in Moon by default, because aren't these Pokemon, especially Gardevoir, hugely and massively popular? And, you know, like, Gardevoir would have been one of the perfects to get a regional variant. Like, can't you imagine a hula dancing Gardevoir in a little grass skirt thing? Like, apparently someone could think of it, because, you know, they made this. And, you know, there even could have been a scene where, like, at the Pokemon Resort, they could have had, as background elements, some hula Gardevoirs dancing with the hula Oricorios. You know, that would have been so nifty. Talk about your missed opportunities, Pokemon. Of course, like the story behind my Gardevoir and Gallade is I literally wrote a mini fan fiction in my head about them as I was leveling them up. Okay, so here's basically how it goes. I'll try to talk fast. Once upon a time, a Ralts arrived through trade. It was a boy Ralts, so he was left in the Pokemon Center with a Ditto until he sired 2 children, a boy and girl Ralts. At first, they were too weak to fight in their own battles, but they observed and learned, and soon the 2 of them had evolved into Kirlia together. In fact, they evolved in the very same level because they were that in tune with each other. Upon evolving into Kirilla, the boy Kirilla was given a Dawn Stone, which allowed him to evolve into a Gallade. Becoming so much more powerful than his little sister, Gallade became a little overprotective, and Kirlia began to feel like she was underappreciated, that her brother felt that she wasn't strong enough. But then, a few levels later, she evolved into her own Gardevoir, and the 2 of them stood side by side as equals. Yeah, that's a whole story I wrote about them in my head. Also, I named my Gardevoir and Gallade Link and Zelda because, to me, they really have a princess and her knight look. I mean, don't they look like the princess and her knight? That's what I get from them. And speaking of Pokemon that look like knights, my number 1 is Bisharp. Holy crap, is Bisharp freaking awesome. Not only is he basically like a warrior made out of knives, he's a Steel/Dark type, and that seems to be a really good combination as long as you don't come up across a fighting type Pokemon. In fact, Bisharp had one of the awesomest fights in the battle tree with me. I'll show you the video right now because I can't really just describe it to you.
Okay, so here he is. He gets slammed by a fairy type attack, which takes out a lot of his health. Then he gets hit a second time, which takes him down to 1 HP. Then boom! Dang, 1 shot. Goodbye, Comfy. Then he sends out the next one. It's at Durant, and then Sucker Punch. Wham! 1 shot. Durant goes down. Then he sends out the third Pokemon, a Beedrill with full health. So, Sucker Punch and wha-bam! 1 shot. 1 shot, 3 Pokemon in a row with 1 HP. Badass.
Yeah, that was awesome, wasn't it? I mean, like, the only complaints that I can possibly have about Bisharp is that it takes a really long time to get one because Pawniard doesn't evolve until it reaches level 52. And then my second complaint is that we have a Pawn and a Bishop, but, you know, there are 6 different kinds of chess pieces. Now I want, you can have 6 Pokemon in a party, and there's 6 chess pieces. It's perfect. I want a chess set Pokemon now. I want a Rook, King, Queen, and Knight Pokemon to go along with the Bishop and the Pawn. Oh, man. Like, maybe in Generation 8, possibly 9? Come on, man. Like, maybe make Pawniard into an Eevee type thing that can evolve into a whole bunch of different things under different circumstances, and Bisharp is only one of them. Maybe? Alright, this is Wakeangel2K1's. I hope you like my countdown and my list, and see you next time.